You're listening to E-Commerce Fastlane, episode 24.
Welcome to E-Commerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, launch, grow, and scale a wildly successful e-commerce company. Listen to real conversations with proven practical strategies and success stories. Learn how to generate more traffic, more sales, more profit, and customer lifetime value for your Shopify store. And now, your host and e-commerce entrepreneur, Steve Hutt.
Hey there, it's Steve, and welcome back to the E-Commerce Fastlane podcast. Now, if this is your first time listening, this is an e-commerce show where we have honest and transparent conversations about building and thriving online with your store powered by Shopify or Shopify Plus. Now, new episodes are available each week with your favorite podcast player through iTunes and Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify. Or you can sign up online at ecommercefastlane.com and you can be notified when new shows are being released. On today's episode, I sat down and had a chat with Nick, the co-founder of Shogun. It's a very popular landing page and visual page builder for Shopify. And they have an interesting solution, that really allows for non-technical founders or team members in marketing or merchandising or even in design roles to optimize the store with kind of high converting landing pages, all without any coding. And they have a big library of kind of proven templates that will increase the conversion rate of your store. So let's jump in and learn more about how you can grow revenue for your brand through some best practices and unique brand experiences. Hi, Nick, and welcome to the show.
Hello, Steve. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm excited to have you on because I know the importance of the solution that you offer with landing pages and just kind of custom pages that need to be created that are maybe outside maybe the realm of the theme they're using, but people know of and should be aware of the fact that you need these sort of things to kind of build a proper sales funnel. So I thought first it would be best to maybe on a high level talk about what Shogun does and kind of what problem it solves for Shopify store owners.
Gladly. So Shogun is a drag and drop page builder for e-commerce websites. And we're currently working on some additional features like analytics and A/B testing tools that tie into the page building component as a start of our conversion rate optimization feature set. But right now you can use Shogun to fully customize your Shopify store, and you can build custom layouts for your homepage, landing pages, blog pages, product pages, and collection page. And so whereas before you might have been restricted to a theme or needed to hire a custom, a developer to customize your pages for you, you can now use Shogun. So we empower non-technical team members, that are on marketing, merchandising, and in design roles to build and customize online store pages.
Well, that's awesome. And I was actually in the back office playing around with it before we were starting to record. And it's really, really cool, kind of the user experience. And talk about the drag and drop part. You can literally select, the page type that you want to create, being a standard page or a blog post or, a product page or even a collection page, as you mentioned. And, I clicked on one, for example, just like a regular page, and it gives me quite a few different templates that you've created, some that are fully populated with content on them to give you kind of inspiration, and then even some wireframes that you've set up to say, hey, here's some ideas of what we believe makes sense for a great landing page. And so kudos to you doing that. Is that something that we're going to expand upon as the product matures?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we have a library of approximately, I think, 30 page templates and about 20 pre-made section blocks. And we're just going to be continually iterating and building on those libraries, coming out with, staying on top of design trends and coming out with pre-made templates that look great to make it easy for people to just hit the ground running.
Absolutely. So Nick, tell me a bit about you then and kind of your entrepreneurial journey kind of so far, leading up to, I guess, the build and the launch of Shogun.
Sure. So I am one of the co-founders of Shogun. I run product and I work on strategy and growth as well. Before Shogun, I was in digital marketing. My first company was a creative agency. And actually, Shogun, we started back in 2015, I think like spring of 2015, and started off with a completely different application. We were basically a page builder for Ruby on Rails.
Mm.
And we found Shopify actually as kind of a happy accident.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we at that point had been, working, doing the startup grind, and found Shopify. And we actually kind of gave up momentarily before like the magic happened. But we didn't give up completely. We maintained Shogun as a side project for a while. And we were just really surprised at the amazing amount of growth that we were able to see through the Shopify App Store and ecosystem alone.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to double down on e-commerce and work on Shogun full time. And at present, Shogun is one of the top applications in the Shopify App Store. We're multi-platform, so we have integrations with other e-commerce platforms in addition to Shopify.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a significant percentage of all Shopify Plus clients using our software, a very, very notable amount. We did a startup program called Y Combinator, which is pretty well known, and have raised some money and are just really working to expand Shogun into a much more robust software product.
I know, and that's how I found your solution. Is I do a lot of app audits and taking a look at some of the merchants that I have the good fortune of managing. And when Shogun pops up, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then I click through from their admin and take a look to see what sort of campaigns they're running, why they've choose these landing pages, and kind of try to see exactly, is it working and why have they made these decisions? And then that's what made me think about, well, I got to get you on the show because it's very clear that a lot of people, I see in the App Store, you got thousands of 5-star reviews. And then I guess we just recently launched the new App Store with a brand new user experience. And it looks to be, it's great too. I've noticed that as the logged in experience, the recommendation engine is working really, really well inside Shopify now, as far as not just blindly recommending certain apps that you may not have already installed. They're not going to recommend something that's already installed. Now it gives you the logged in experience. If I'm logged in as another merchant or even my own store, it makes proper intelligent recommendations by vertical. And I see that, yours comes up as an option. So yeah, that's really, really cool. I'm excited about that. What are some mistakes that you think merchants make kind of when they're kind of building their website?
Yeah, it's a great question. The biggest issues that I always see are almost always related to responsiveness or lack thereof. And by responsiveness, I mean the way that the page responds across different screen sizes. So going from widescreen to desktop to tablet to mobile. Yeah, store designs that don't scale across screens very well. It's super painful because mobile has emerged as a very important, if not dominant channel for e-commerce. And so when you see clients that are building websites that aren't mobile optimized, that's usually the biggest mistake that I see.
Yeah, I would agree with that too, because I think there's the bulk of the traffic now, from what I see, is coming in through mobile, and even mobile conversion rates are starting to really, really increase. And it'd be very interesting to see what's going to happen for BFCM. We're like a few months away from Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and I know we have a lot of big merchants. I think we did almost $1 billion in revenue last year on Shopify. So very interesting to see how those numbers they keep climbing for mobile conversions and just mobile views, and just people are on the go and busy. So
yeah, I'd say another thing that I see is information option overload. Another big mistake. People basically stuff pages with way too much content or too many product options, and call to action buttons or areas where they're distracting the user. Basically, when we design Shogun as software, you kind of want to drive the user through a specific journey, right? Through a certain path through the software. And you want to do the exact same thing with e-commerce websites. So when you've created a page design that just has a ton of content on it, or it's not clear what the next action to take is, that can be really painful.
Conversion optimization is a big topic, to be quite honest with you, I have with my merchants. So do you have any tips and things that, because your solution is certainly helping people convert better by having better landing pages and certain things. So do you have any tips that you could share with the listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of conversion rate optimization, create pressure. When people feel no sense of urgency, they tend not to transact. They're just like, oh, I'll go think about this and come back later. It's possible that they might feel some kind of motivation naturally, like, oh, I need to buy this now for their own personal reasons. But you can add to that with something like a time-sensitive sale or a discount, or even like a countdown timer. Alleviate concerns about returns. This is a big thing. Obviously, when people are buying online, their biggest fear is that they're going to get a product like that doesn't fit right or that doesn't look like it was shown online. So if you can make returns like really guaranteed and hassle-free, I think that kind of overcomes that objection.
Right. It's funny you mentioned that. I know Shopify, I believe, recently purchased Return Magic app, and now that's, I guess, going to be at some point bundled in as part of the Shopify ecosystem, or part of the, I guess, the core offering. But yeah, that's definitely, obviously that was a weakness, a frustration maybe that Shopify had with the core platform, and now they went out and bought it. And I agree with you 100%. So for those listening, if you don't have a proper kind of hassle-free return policy and maybe a process to do it, there's you can go to the App Store and take a look for Return Magic. That certainly could be an option to help you.
I'd also say like page speed is a really bbig thing that can affect conversion rate. Even a slight delay in loading content can make your bounce rate skyrocket. So you can use tools like Pingdom to test your speed, but make sure that you're like using best practices like compressing your images, keeping your page content as light as possible. Obviously, Shopify enforces like page content maximums, but you probably want to be well under that. Like, it's really astounding though, but even a very slight delay, especially with a mobile shopper, can have someone just bounce immediately.
Yeah, you know what? And I think even from an SEO perspective too, which I think is kind of where you're headed to, there's the conversion optimization part and the bounce rate that happens. But I also think the stickiness and the time on site, if the site is very slow to load, it's really not good user experience from Google's perspective. So that's why I highly recommend, there's a couple of apps and stuff, I can put them in the show notes, that I think people, you're right, need to minimize their images. Anything you can do to increase your speed. Yeah, and Pingdom, Google Speed. There's quite a few different links and stuff that I can share with people to kind of help you out, just to double check to see where you're at, both from an organic traffic perspective about reducing page loads. So yeah, really good point.
Another thing, I think that like, and this is a bit of a side note, but it's you can't always expect people to transact the first time that they're going to come to your site. The ability to collect their email address or somehow get their information so that you're able to put them into your marketing funnel, drive them back to your site at a later time, I think does wonders for conversion rate. However, I would say that's a bit of a double-edged sword because, the first question was like, what are some of the biggest mistakes I see merchants making? When you have like a modal or an exit intent pop-up overlay or something like that, that is poorly designed or obscures the whole page or is very annoying or like pops up right away, it's the worst.
Yeah.
But I think that if you're doing it in a tasteful way where someone has spent a lot of, they've spent quite a bit of time on site. They've gone through a bunch of pages. They're clearly shopping around. They're clearly, they have some products that are catching their eye. At that point, serving them like a tasteful modal to collect their email address, I think is a great way to drive more conversions in your business.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've even seen some solutions out in the market now too that are in exchange for maybe following on social media, would then offer some kind of a discount, and then having access to that social profile of that site visitor or customer has a lot of remarketing abilities. But I'm totally with you on there's some crazy things going on that I see. These welcome mats that drop down from the top to the bottom and kind of hijack the whole screen. And it just, at the end of the day, I always think about, what are the larger merchants on Plus? What are they doing? I mean, you can go to Shopify Plus, online and take a look at some of the signature stores that are out there. And, they're obviously doing something well. When you take a look, are they doing these sorts of tactics to, it is important to grow your email list, fair enough, but then there's a tasteful way to do it. And there's also some tasteful pop-ups that can happen. Maybe if there's somewhere within the funnel of maybe conversion funnel somewhere, getting close to checking out, maybe page 2 of the checkout, and all of a sudden you say, hey, having some difficulty or live chatting with people. And there's things that you can do, or maybe that's the exit intent is in the cart only because they are leaving. So that's a really good point.
Yeah, I recommend like if you're looking for inspiration or to follow best practices for what a great site looks like, there's an agency called BV Excel, and they do really amazing work. And if you just go to like BV Excel's website and go to their client portfolio
Right.
and start clicking into a lot, I mean, I think almost all of them are Shopify Plus merchants.
Yeah.
There's a ton. And so jumping in and taking a look at those sites and looking at what the pros do, I think could lend a lot of really valuable insight. Honestly, like I could probably give like 50 CRO tips. We have blog posts given about them.
Yeah.
The important thing is that like CRO should be a constant process. Like it's not something that you just do once and then, you're like, all right, well, I applied CRO, You want to constantly be thinking of new ideas, determining hypotheses for ways to increase your conversion rate. And you want to test those hypotheses and collect that data, be meticulous, get set up with analytics in Google Analytics or whatever analytics, suite or platform you're using. And generate those hypotheses and test them and measure, because that's really like you will gain so much benefit from that as opposed to just trying to follow a trend or even worse, not doing anything at all.
As a product guy, do you have any kind of design or user experience tips or kind of best practices that you can share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So think about what I was talking about earlier, the way that we design software at Shogun, really think about like the user flows, right? Like how does a user move through the software performing core actions? And you should think about your e-commerce website in the exact same way, right? You want to design paths with escalating calls to action. So here's an example of a path that you might consider, right? Is how the homepage focuses on, gets the user to focus on a product image that they click, right? That's the CTA, right, which leads them to that product's product page. And then what's the next thing they're going to do? They need to be able to choose the variant. So you want to make that clearly as the next step and then click the add to cart button. That's the next CTA. And then that leads to the cart. So this seems really obvious when I'm spelling it out, but like your website is filled with those kind of flows, and you drop users into those flows at various points depending on how you're doing your advertising. So just think overall about that whole experience that the consumer is going through as they're shopping on your site and make it as smooth as possible. Map your flows out. Make the next step very obvious and very easy to the consumer at any point. Right. And that's really the kind of the best way to do it.
Anything else?
Yeah, I would also say like one thing that we do at Shogun that's really, really useful, and I think that everybody who has a web-based business should do it, are watch your visitor sessions. So you've got, softwares like Full Story and Hotjar that are really great for this. Basically, they will record live sessions of your real visitors visiting your website, and you can see where they're clicking around, how they're moving through things. And it gives you really amazing insight into where your website, user interface, right, or user experience, how you kind of mapped your site architecture might be falling short. Right. So if you're sitting there banging your head against your table, wondering why people keep on dropping off of one page, and you can see that in your analytics. It's so great to be able to hop into Full Story and watch the sessions. You can almost always immediately identify what the issue is.
Yeah, I've never played with Full Story at all, but I definitely, but I will take a look at it now that you've kind of mentioned it. But Hotjar, definitely have used it along with a few other tools, and it is quite interesting. The recording all of these sessions and watching them back and just seeing the mouse move around, the scrolling to actually see. It's almost a bit creepy to a certain degree that you're getting to see, but at the end of the day, if you have to follow this, as you call it, it's a path, this escalating path or escalating call to actions as you're kind of flowing through, almost like a story going through it. And it's interesting to see where people are dropping off, because I see that all of a sudden they do certain things and you're like, well, why did they not click there? And then the recording stops, which shows that was the abandoned part, how they exited from the site. So it's very interesting and eye-opening. So I highly recommend, I'll put the link to Full story and the links to Hotjar and stuff in the notes. But I think if you're having visitors come to the website and you're just not sure what they're doing, or you wish you had, more conversions, or improved in average order value, or why do they not buy the accessory to go with it? If you can actually can see what people are actually doing through these recording tools. And I think there's even ones, there's even like heat mapping tools. Do you have much experience with that at all?
Yeah, I do. Crazy Egg and Hotjar both offer heat mapping tools. And basically that it gives you insight into where your visitors are engaging with the page the most. I think they also have like click mapping. Is another way to view where the activity is occurring. I definitely find those helpful, but I really honestly I get the most value just off of watching the visitor sessions in Full Story. Full Story is one of my favorite pieces of software. So I'd say like if you're going to do one of the two, like watch visitor sessions or check out heat mapping, I would start with visitor sessions, and then if you have time, look at heat maps and click maps and things of that nature.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. I'm gonna dig around with Full Story then after our recording today and just see what it has to offer. And so I'm thinking about Shogun, and obviously, you're wildly successful inside the Shopify ecosystem, and other platforms. Can you share at all some of the successes that you see? The reasons why people have made a decision, maybe outside of the free trial, why they continue paying month over month for your solution? Is there certain specific, not necessarily the merchants per se that are using it, but are there certain themes that are important that people are using it for certain things that are getting a lot of great results out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll actually start with one that might not be totally obvious, which is agencies. We have a ton of agencies and experts who use Shogun to do store setup or to do design, or who basically build Shogun in for their clients as a visual CMS. There's a lot of tools in Shogun that like add to workflow efficiency, like page duplication, the ability to select any amount of content and make a snippet out of it and reuse it. If you have multiple Shogun accounts, we can copy pages in between accounts, so you're not reinventing the wheel each time. And a lot of agencies and experts just find it to be very useful. And for the same reasons that merchants do, right? Where basically you're able to replace developer time with marketer or designer time. And developer time tends to be very expensive. Now, there are absolutely, some cases where developer time is still needed in using Shogun. If you take a look at like Movement Watches uses Shogun to manage their blog content, right? Now, their blog is a little more complex, though. And so there is a feature inside of Shogun called Custom Elements, where a technical team member can go in and they can write their own Liquid, CSS, and JavaScript, and code and then configure that as a reusable drag and drop element to be used by other team members. So that just really increases the power of the tool to the nth degree, right? And so you see a lot of agencies using those advanced developer tools in Shogun for their clients. You see them using it for store setup, or even marketing agencies using it for quick landing pages. So the agencies just absolutely love it. In addition to that, the merchants also gain a ton of value out of it. They may not have full-time engineers or developer resources at their company, or if they do, they probably have more important projects for them to be working on than simple landing page or blog page building and management. So being able to empower the marketing team members and the merchandising team members to build themselves and to quickly iterate and deploy themselves without having to go through engineering saves not only time and money, but it also speeds things up. It allows that iteration process to go much more quickly. So those are some reasons why agencies and merchants both have really been the reason why Shogun has been so successful.
Yeah, that's a really good takeaway, and thanks for sharing that, because I think that's there's all different types of listeners on the show, and certainly there's lots of agency partners and Shopify experts that listen, and that may not have thought about having a separate tool with a repository of elements that are reusable and shareable, and it's nice that you're able to, like what Movement Watches has done with custom CSS and JavaScript and things, where they can really create a very unique customer experience, on their blog page. And just looking at it now, and I can see why I didn't know that was the case, that it was running off a custom solution like that. And so it seems like a very drag and drop. Now you can put it in, and then they can populate the content, and then it has the style and the functionality that they want that page to have for that particular blog post. And I think that's pretty amazing. So we're nearing the end of the show. Do you have any closing comments that you would like to leave our visitors?
Yeah, absolutely. Give our software a try. You can use it for one-off for landing pages or blog pages. You don't need to, dedicate your whole site to it on day one by any means. You can totally just build some one-off pages that you've been wanting to build yourself. We have a 10-day free trial period. We have a special discount link for e-commerce Fastlane listeners.
Beautiful.
20% off any Shogun plan for life. That discount is going to be reflected on the Pick a Plan page once the app's installed. Okay. And I think that you'll love the software. We have fantastic support. Our support team is based in the United States, United Kingdom, and Australia. So we have really great time zone coverage.
Nice.
And our support folks are actually all, pretty well versed in front end development. So they can answer really technical questions. They're really wonderful folks to work with. So put it to the test. There's literally nothing to lose.
Absolutely. So those links will be getshogun.com. You can go there directly. I'll also redirect ecommercefastlane.com/Shogun, SHOGUN, and that will redirect to that special link that you can get that 20% off. Thanks, Nick. I really appreciate that. I scrambled down a lot of notes here today. Some really good takeaways, and I'm going to make a point of sharing this solution with clients and merchants that I'm responsible for, and just to see if there's a fit. And I think there's a lot of examples where I think some custom pages, custom landing pages, updating some flows for even Facebook landing pages for ads, trying to test certain things out. End of the day, it sounds like your solution is great for people that maybe have some idea what they want, and that's maybe where they can grab a template. But it looks like you have some open framework too, to be able to be completely creative by adding the JavaScript and CSS and liquid elements. I think that's really cool. And the other thing is great is that you don't have to go and redo your whole entire website. You may have a premium theme that you're running right now that is your kind of standard look and feel that you like for your brand. But there's no reason why there can't be some custom pages that are created and inserted through Shogun into your theme, and then used as part of a strategy to drive more conversions to it. And another good takeaway I thought about today is that making sure either through Full Story or through Hotjar, making sure that you're actually looking at live customers going through your site, including the landing pages that you create, and see how they're interacting with them, and are they following through on that flow that you anticipated them to do. And if they're not, then that's just part of the experimentation phase, and you have to kind of tweak again. So that's great. Once again, thanks, Nick, for coming on the show.
Steve, thank you so much. Really appreciate the opportunity.
All right, have a great day.
Thanks to you as well.
And that's it for today's episode. Thanks again, Nick, for coming on the show today and sharing your insights to help Shopify brands grow their revenue or their email list. And finally, I'd like to thank you, the loyal listeners of this show. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and kind of exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms. Really with my personal goal, to kind of help you grow and scale with Shopify. Thanks for carving out some time today and listening to the show. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of your week and keep thriving with Shopify.